Hey everyone, this is Corinne Lafont, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And you know how I do my show, always starting off with gratitude, or some people will say thankfulness. Yes. And today is such a beautiful day here in Trinidad and Tobago. We had lots of rain here yesterday. I mean, pouring thunder and lightning, followed by hot, steaming sun. It just tells you that no matter what's going on in your life, like I said to a friend yesterday, how frightening it may be, how tumultuous it may be, that the sun always comes out in its glory and beauty. So I am thankful to be here another day to be able to share with you a little bit of wisdom, just a little bit of wisdom with Brenda Batista. And you would think from her background that she's actually really having fun, at some luxurious hotel. Yeah? Thank God for virtual backgrounds. You can be anywhere in the world, right? You can be anywhere in the world, right?
That's right.
But yes, virtual travel is what you call it. Virtual travel, you can be in Bora Bora, you could be in Paris, you could be in London. Listen to me. Anywhere you want to be, you can be. Nobody could stop you. It's not expensive. It's not expensive. And you can go there, hop on a plane virtually and be there in a few seconds. Can you imagine that? This is awesome. COVID has allowed us to travel the world, people, the world. When you were planning and strategizing and stressing out yourself, and all you had to do is just go on Zoom. That's all. Go on Zoom, and you're anywhere in the world. Today we're talking about eliminating team toxicity with Brenda Batista. Now, when you look at Brenda, she doesn't look like, if you were to judge people by the cover, the look, you will not think she will deal with anything to do with toxicity. Nothing at all. I mean, look at her. She just looks so peaceful. Probably that's why the topic is eliminate team toxicity. She looks peaceful. Okay. She looks very peaceful and serene. Let me tell you a bit about Brenda. So Brenda Batista is a founder of Inspiring Company Culture, and you will see the website a little bit later down in our show, where she helps leaders transform their work environments to places where everyone is heard, valued and appreciated. Brenda is an expert in establishing high-performing teams, healthy company culture, leadership, business systems analysis, and strategic planning. Wow. Brenda holds a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Systems Engineering, a Master's in Health Administration, and a Juris Doctorate. Welcome, Brenda, to Between the Lines.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And yes, you're right. Whenever you want to travel, just use Zoom because you could be anywhere.
Yes.
Anywhere at all. And I'm actually coming to you from Las Vegas. So we would love to have some of your rain. I don't think it's rained here in 150 days or something like that.
Oh,
so we could use some little bit of moisture.
You actually know the amount of days, but
well, because we've set a record. That's why. So they put it on the news. Like, yeah, it's dry. It's like yes, it is. It is dry.
Well, you need to move over to Trinidad and Tobago. You would have loved it. I know Las Vegas is desert, but listen, we had pouring rain. And the thing about it is when you look outside, like about, what time was that? About probably in the afternoon, around this time that we're talking here now, you would have never thought that the amount of rain that fell from early in the morning till that time, there's no evidence that kind of rain, thunder, and lightning happened the past few hours, non-stop. It's amazing how nature, really teaches us how to live. I wish that persons, especially in this pandemic, take the time to really appreciate what is around them. because nature teaches us how to live,
Mm.
teaches us how to live. And we should just
Yes.
spend the time to just take in all of that, and we would be much happier individuals traveling virtually on Zoom. Okay?
We would. And I absolutely appreciate that. I appreciate that sentiment because my mom is from Panama, and there's the tropics as well. So I'm very, very familiar with the afternoon rains, and then all of a sudden it gets very steamy, and then it disappears. It was nothing. It was like, what happened?
Yeah,
uh,
that's just how
so
it
yes, very, very familiar.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's just how it is here, you know. But Brenda, we're talking about teams. And you know what interests
Yes.
me about this is that we have all worked in teams, whether, I think back to the days
Mm-hmm.
of my university days, and we were forced, when you're in the classroom and you're forced, you have individual projects and you have group projects, and your lecturers will say, you have to work in a group, you have to work in a group. And you're like, no, I prefer to do the individual project. But, later down in your life, after graduating and you go into corporations or companies and you realize the value of the group dynamics, and the storming, the forming, the norming, and all those different things. And, you go out into the
Mm-hmm.
working world, you become an entrepreneur like ourselves, and you have to work with all sorts of people. And not only that, you have to deal with clients of every kind. It's crazy out here. And toxicity is
Mm-hmm.
a trigger word and a buzzword for me. And why I say those two things? Because I am very passionate about it. Anything toxic, or I feel toxicity within me, I remove it from my life. It could be a person, it could be a situation, it could be a thing, anything that doesn't make me feel good, that brings me joy, I remove it immediately. I don't even think about. Well, sometimes I may think, and then I say, no. If I were to do that other thing, it's not going to make me feel good, so I'm not doing it. Or I'm not going, or I'm not
Mm-hmm.
hanging around that person, or I'm no longer speaking to that person. So having it in teams is like tripling and quadrupling, whatever you may call it, quadrupling it, whatever the word, 10x in the whole toxicity. And I would have never imagined, Brenda, that that would have been a topic that we would speak about. And why I say that? Because, people look at it as, okay, deal with it. Just deal with it. You're working with people,
Mm-hmm.
corporate,
Right.
just deal with it. But I want to find out from you. I would really love to hear from you. And I'm going to stop talking now. I really want to find out from you. Why does toxicity exist in the first place? And how can we manage it? There are people who are going to work still, for
Mm-hmm.
those of us who still have jobs, and we don't really like the jobs we're in, and we don't like the people we have to work with. Help them
Mm-hmm.
to deal with that, because if we hold on to their jobs, we know, Brenda, for the sole reason of taking care of their family. That's it. If they had the opportunity to stay at home, they would. If they could make money at home, which is something I'm working on to help them with. But in the meantime, how
Mm-hmm.
can you suggest ways, and why does this tech toxicity exist? Let's come to that. Why does the term team toxicity?
What does it exist? And it's human nature, because in our characteristics, our attributes, we have both positive and negative things, and things that will trigger us to react or respond in a certain way. So it really starts by understanding what your tendencies are, and then you can start to understand others a little bit better. So I always start with folks, like you and I have the blessing, I guess I would say, and luxury, and in a certain extent, because we are running our own business. We decide, we make the culture, right? We choose who to work with, who not to work with. We choose who to include in our company or who not to, based off of the fit, and we make that happen. Probably, I know for me, my story is why I left a corporation, and why I left corporate is because I didn't have that luxury all the time. I had it for a team. but I did not have it for the teammates. And it became very counterproductive. So the business wasn't performing the way it could have because people became too toxic and engaged in, I'll say kind of the survivor mentality of, well, this is my territory and I run over this, and lack of trust and self-preservation in their particular roles or titles. And then anything to preserve themselves, that's what they were after. And not so much in let's collaborate and participate in what's for the good of the business, because sometimes, not everybody can be in charge of everything. Everything's not equally important. And that shouldn't be an ego thing. It should just be, that's the nature of the business, right? It depends on what business you're in, but certainly not everything is equally important at the same time. So you have to give and take. And then when you start to do that, that's where the toxicity kind of comes in, because they're worried about losing face, like, well, I'm not important. Well, you are important. But the culture has to support that. And you have to create an environment in which everyone is heard and valued. And so I tell people, it's like, if you don't like the reality, let's look at our own behaviors and tendencies first to understand what we're doing that to create the results we're seeing, what things we want to change. Because if we don't like the reality, what is controllable for us to change? So we all know we can't change somebody else. If I don't like that person, frankly, it's a waste of time to try to change them, right? But I can understand them and understand what are their triggers and their personality that makes them more receptive to something or respond in a certain way. And as I start to understand those dynamics better, then I can alleviate the toxicity or start creating, around me, my own circle of friends or peers or whatever, to start making those changes, change it within myself and demonstrate, be the role model for others. Like, oh, okay, well, we're not going to argue about this. Let's get to a place where we can have meaningful conversations. And so where one person isn't put off and withdrawals and kind of holds all their ideas and passions inside, like, I'm not going to tell you anything because you've offended me, or I'm not going to tell you anything because you just don't care. I mean, I try to tell you something and you don't listen. So I think a lot of us end up in the situations over time where that has happened to us. And if it hasn't happened to you, that means you have a more dominant, actually, personality that that feels. And actually, one of the triggers is that nobody's talking, so I'm just going to fill the space and tell everybody what I'm thinking, and that's actually shutting people down more. So I help people understand that they're really 5 kind of leadership voices that interact in it, and most of the time we're floating between 2 that we feel comfortable with, that are our primary ones. I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about that, but I'll pause here, see if you have any questions about what I just said.
No, I love your points. And it really sums up to ego. It really sums up to ego, and persons not really looking at what is the bigger picture, Brenda. Because we have both,
Mm-hmm.
And many persons who will be listening to this and who are listening to this would know, you're working with individuals, and no matter how you try to show them we are here for a purpose. This is not my thing, your thing, his thing, their thing. It is for a purpose. I don't have to like you. You don't have to like me. We don't have to live in the same house, wake up together in the same bed. We don't need to share a meal. We are here for a purpose. And you bring a skill, that person brings a skill, you bring know-how, whatever it is, let's just get it done and we move on. People don't see that way. It's like, they might be like, you are trying to show me up, and you have all that intertwining dynamics, which is unnecessary, because you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And they start seeing and hearing things. But you said something important as well. You are saying that the person, like, for instance, if it's me and you in a team here now, I have to look at myself. Now, a lot of people don't look at themselves, Brenda. They look at the other person.
Yes, that's true.
They're not, because as far as they're concerned, it's you. It's you. It's never them, it's you.
Right.
Because it's easier to point a finger externally and to blame everything, and it comes back to your point. You cannot control anybody outside of yourself. You can only control yourself. And even though they might know that mentally it is not translating into their actions, that it makes no sense pointing a finger at the other person. Look at yourself, work on you, and stop trying to blame somebody else. So it means to say that there's some level of awareness of the individual that
It does.
has to take.
It,
Yeah.
it does. And when I say that, I'm careful to point out to people, I was like, I'm not saying play a victim. You're not a victim in any of this. Or you don't play the woe is me, because a lot of people will go there like, yeah, it's all my fault. And then they start to blame themselves. Like, no, I'm not saying, hunch over and go, oh, I'm horrible. No, what I'm saying is stand up and own what is valuable and excellent and outstanding about yourself that actually might irritate somebody, because that's their trigger. And it's nothing bad about you. It's what's great about you. And own it and go, well, I don't want to change that because, I love that about me. Now, there might be some other things like, well, gosh, why do I always get upset when this particular thing happens? And it's the flip, it's your trigger, right? It's your particular attribute that makes you go, gosh, maybe I shouldn't get so angry when somebody does that because it's bothering me, but why is it bothering me? And these go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, because I just wanted to interject as you were saying that and say, I remember using a term to someone. I said, little girl. It is an endearing term in certain cultures, but some people may think of it as negative. It is translated in her mind as negative, like I'm talking down to her. You're right. I lived in Jamaica for 21 years, and when we say little girl, it doesn't mean that you're less or you're seen as a child. It is just because a little girl is cute. A little girl is, it's seen as a nice term. So when I said it to the person, she said, Corinne, please do not call me that. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, it triggers her. I said, okay. And I stopped and I made an apology. So sometimes we may use terms or phrases or whatever it may be jokingly to someone else, and it really sends them back in a space. We don't know what sort of trauma or whatever it is that they may have when it comes to that. So we really have to be careful. I'm just saying that point to
no, that excellent. It's an excellent point, because it shows up in our gender relationships as being a woman who's been in a traditionally male environment. That will happen. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes accidentally. No, it's the accidental one when you point that out and, oh, sorry, didn't realize that I had done that. Didn't realize I was patronizing. Yes, I don't need you to repeat everything I just said, because I said it. Well, I meant what I said the first time, and also with our race relations as well, right? And some cultural differences, people don't pick up on that or have no clue. And that's certainly, a point of learning, probably another whole different discussion and topic. But certainly the 5 voices, and I'll say these are leadership voices, because we're all leaders, right? We lead ourselves, certainly. And once we understand our leadership tendencies, then we can lead others better. And they range in from a quiet to a loud voice. So quiet is called a nurturer. And I get these from the folks at Giant Worldwide. They've done research in behind this. And they found that when people are toxic and they're not collaborating very well, you only get 58% of your productivity. So imagine that. All that wasted capacity and potential because we can't get along when it comes to speaking or appreciating each other. And it comes down to these fundamentals.
Brenda, I want you to hold that point.
It's
hold
scary.
that point there. Hold that point there, Brenda. You're saying something very significant. Organizations are organizations because of the people. An organization cannot exist if it didn't have the people, unless it's totally automated and it has machines. But let's assume that an organization is made up of people. Each person has has his or her own personality, and you're saying that 58% of the productivity is at risk. Every day you're getting up, dealing with your family, going to work, and meeting these same people every day. You spend the majority of your waking hours with them. Sometimes even after work, you're still dealing with them. You know, whether in a social setting or work setting or whatever it may be, you have to interact with them because emails are still flying, whatever it may be, calls, whatever. And you are saying 58% of the productivity. And my question to you is, as somebody in this area, what really should we be focusing, spending most of our time on in an organization? You have HR, you have EAP, you have training, you have what else they have? All different sort of nice departments. But really, if a company's main focus is to make profit in order to pay its shareholders, to pay its workers, and to create an environment that's happy for people, what is that one department that we should have that really keeps productivity up and people happy? Do we really need a big HR? Do we really need a big training? Do we really, what is it that we need?
It's a complicated answer because it depends on where the company is on its journey of growth. It's a different answer for a startup than it is. I should create something called Smart Up, and for a large corporation, right? The answer is it depends. It depends on where you are on that journey. Because certainly when you're starting out, you can't afford to have, big HR, but you can afford, let me put it this way, you cannot afford to be accomplished regardless of the team. So it doesn't matter what your function is in the business, whether you're sales, whether you're executive, whether you're management, whether you're project management, whatever, you can do this in your team. And as each team gets better at this, it spreads. It's a very positive peer pressure, because as a team, one is not is performing as well, and they seem to have issues like, wait, why do you guys love each other? I don't, in the good, appropriate sense, right? In the corporate sense, you love working with each other. You have each other's backs, and you all seem to have a general sense of what's happening with the different projects. And you had like 30 different projects. I don't understand. And you love to do that. We work for the same company. Yes, I hate my job. So it causes that dynamic, and they start asking why. What's the difference? The difference is the team dynamics. The difference is how you function as a team, and are you listening to each other? Starts with that fundamental, because they're back to those five leadership styles. Yeah. There's a nurturer, who's the person who's always worried about how's everybody doing. So we're going to change something, but they have a tendency to be very quiet, because they want to know how everybody's receiving the news, or how everybody's receiving the work that we have to do. The next person that's a not still kind of quiet, is what's called a creative. And I don't mean that they're creating new ideas. They're out there doing strategy. So when they hear an idea, they immediately run out and go, they don't run out of the room. They mentally run out, which is why they're quiet, because they're processing everything that could possibly go wrong. These are great chess players, right? Because they're running all the strategies like, oh, we got to watch out for this and this and this and this. And so they run all that while a meeting is happening, and people think they've checked out because like, they're not paying attention. They get that sense. The third kind of middle group, which is the nurturer, is 43% of the workforce, right? That creative is about 7%, so it's not as big. So you see, but you still, now you've got about 50% of your workforce is a quieter voice that's not going to be speaking up as much. Then you have a guardian, which is kind of in the middle. And these people are the ones who are asking a lot of questions, because they want to understand, I get where we say we're going, but exactly how we're going to get there. These are the people that, back to your we need to take trips. We're going to take a trip somewhere. They want to know where we're going, what should I pack, when are we leaving, like every single little detail. They're not very spontaneous. And because of that, the people who have great ideas are like, why do you keep throwing a wet blanket on everything? Because you're asking all these questions. Can you just go with it? And the answer is no, they can't, because I was talking about the trigger. No, they want information. So then you've got this next voice is called a connector, and it's a louder voice. These are great evangelists. If you have an idea, these are the people to go tell everybody about it. They love, and I don't mean gossiping. I mean, they literally love to go out and tell everybody what the great work is being done. And if you need a resource, they know a person who knows a person who knows something about, right? They can connect you. They're like LinkedIn, but it's all in their head. They just, have it all together. And they love to do that. And then the last one is kind of the pioneer voice. You find these a lot in corporate leadership. They're the person who comes into the meeting and says, look, these are the 5 things we're doing. Questions? Nope. Good. Let's go. And, they've decided. They're very driven to results, which is why you see them a lot in corporations. They're not so much open and listening for the nurturer. So that creates our discrepancy between the people who are seen as quiet and not engaging and the one who's decided. So you can see that discrepancy is like the person who's decided isn't even listening for, so what do you guys think? Well, you'll be lucky if they ask you, well, what do you think? And their trigger is they perceive that as incompetency. And so you can see how the toxicity starts to fester, because then you've got these people who aren't that pioneer type of voice starting to wonder, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to make sure my mark is made in my position? And one, I don't want to lose my position. I don't want to lose my job, right? But I want to be seen as a participant, but yet I can't get a word in edgewise. So what do I do? And how do I fit into that? And so that's what I literally take people through, understanding your 2 sides. So while the pioneer, I kind of describe them a little negative, but they're positive because they have all these great ideas and like, we got to go do this and we got to go do that. Now, how do they engage somebody who asks a lot of questions? Invite them into the conversation early, saying, I know you have like 20 questions every single time we do something. And so I'm planning something. I'd like for you to ask me these questions now, because you're going to help me resolve something. Because those 20 questions are the same questions the nurturer has, the person who's worried about everybody, but they won't ask it. See, so you've got each team member pulling for each other, kind of filling in the other one's weakness a little bit about, how do I get the information? I'm afraid to ask, but is everybody okay? Well, how are we going to be okay? Well, we have to ask questions. And is this the right strategic direction for us to go? Because if we're going to go there, what do we need to watch out for? What are a risk assessment? And then the connector who knows somebody or has availability for resources, like, oh, I know how we can resource this. So you see how all of them, when their wonderfulness is exposed, can work really, really well together. And literally the first thing I tell to people is, if you're in a team, if you're in charge of a team, it's a lot easier to do this, but being in a team, and if you kind of self-identify with one of these voices, is speak up, right? If you're a quieter voice, speak up. And for leaders, I tell them, if you know that this person isn't speaking up, I literally have them rearrange their meetings, agendas on purpose, where the quieter voices are always given the floor first. You go first. You're quieter voice, you're going to speak first. And I run meetings in that order. It's like, okay, the quietest person to the loudest person, not meaning, just in that 5 voice order. Because if I don't, that quieter voice won't speak up. Now, what happens over time is that encourages a healthy culture, because everybody feels that they're, 1, heard, 2, it's valued, because we start talking about how do you encourage not only the speaking up, but listen to and value that contribution, because now you start building that momentum. It's like, oh, okay, well, I get to speak first. And at first they're going to shy away from that, because like, oh, you're really putting me on the spot. I don't want to talk first. Please don't make me go first. And it's your opportunity, because, typically you never got a word in edgewise because it kept going off on this other end, as a chance to reverse it and flip it. And I find that, like I said, it builds momentum. And then you start to feel that we've all got each other's back, and we can ask questions about your idea without it feeling like a personal attack. So you start to build trust, and the self-preservation walls come down, because everybody feels more of a harmony in that I sing a different note than you. So when I say that, I don't mean we're all singing the same exact note. Literally, I can ask you a question and sing it a different note because I see it a different way, and you don't take it personally. You see it as a way for us as a team to get better and for us to accomplish our mission. Then productivity starts improving because we're all pulling in the same direction. All that gossip and all that stuff that distracts falls to the wayside. Everybody starts going in the same direction. And like I said, it becomes infectious because the rest of the company's like, wait, what you guys, what you like each other, not just like each other. You celebrate each other's birthdays, even virtually. And you do this stuff that makes you feel like family, like an extended family. Yeah. Every day's not great, right? Because, it's a job. there are things you have to do that you don't want to do. But as a team, we've got each other's back.
Yeah. I have a team that is like that. And I groomed my team in that way. And I'm listening to you, and I could say safely, I know myself, I'm a bit of all of those persons, those five voices. There are times where I will be extremely quiet, depending on the situation. There are times I'm a pioneer, there are times I'm a guardian, there are times. So different parts of me are going to come out depending on the circumstance. And if I'm heading the team, all those parts of me are going to come out to ensure, because I know there are people like that. I am very observant and intuitive. So I'm always paying attention and watching person's body language, eye movements. I'm very observant. If I find persons are not talking up and I can see they have a question, or, I can tell. I will say, hey, Donna, I see you have a question. What it is you want to ask? I will call on her. Or Kevin, I know I can see something about that is bothering you. What is on your mind? Share what's on your mind. Or do you have something that you want to contribute in terms of this? So I want to hear from everyone. I want everyone's voice to be heard. At the end of that meeting, strategy meeting, it doesn't matter what it is, I want to know they walk out of there knowing that they were heard, they made a contribution, they are in agreement. And I ask, is everyone agreeing with this? If you don't, say no, because whatever you may say may even contribute to the whole thing that we are not seeing or realizing based on your experience. So I am that person that leads that team. And I can tell you, I have a team that I absolutely adore, and they will not leave me. I'm telling you, Brenda, they're not leaving me. And we are the envy. We are the envy of a lot of other people because of how we relate, how we work together. And let me tell you, initially, there were people in that team that challenged me, and they're still there. And I think the persons who challenged me were probably testing my leadership and probably hoping that I would kick them out. But I never did, because I know it would have been a reflection of me. And it must not be a reflection of me. I am the leader, and it is not for me to say that, okay, so Kevin is challenging me, and so he must go. No, and my belief, a true leader is able to bring everybody together, not take anything personally, and work with everybody and bring the best Brenda out of everybody. Yes. Recognize everybody's skills and bring out the best. It has nothing to do with you like me, I like you. No. It has nothing to do with that. It is, we're here for a mission, an objective, a purpose, and I want to see everybody grow and develop and contribute. I'm telling you, because of my approach to leadership.
Absolutely. That tells me you're.
Yeah. Because of my approach to leadership.
No, that tells me that you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. You go ahead.
So I was going to say that to me, that tells me that you are what I'll call a liberating leader. That means that you give the people support, but you also challenge them, and you also receive the challenge and support. And that takes somebody, one, who's very self-aware, and two, as a leader, not afraid to do that. I think too many leaders are afraid of that because they're afraid a challenger will show them up. And that's not the case. That person can grow more. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I grow more because of it. And you said it right. I grow more because of it. And I keep telling them that. I say, you guys help me to be better. You have no idea. When they think I am helping them, they are actually, it's a symbiotic relationship. I am growing so much because of them. And I trust them immensely. I don't have to be seen as a leader. I don't have to be seen. I don't have to be heard. I'm like, you take charge of this. You run with it. I just want to hear what's going on. I'm here to support you. What do you need? I'm here. Just tell me what you need. And they run with it. And I trust them. Whatever decisions they make in a particular situation, I say, you make that decision. I am going to trust you because I know you did it with whatever information you had and I wasn't there at the time. So I am trusting you. We're going to work with it. We can solve anything after this. So I trust and I hang back, and I'm the leader that leads from the back, leads from the front, leads from the side. You know, it doesn't, you know, I think what happens with people in leadership is that, as you mentioned earlier, people attach their value to their title. I am not attached to a title, Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't identify me. I know who I am. I don't need a title. I just like people to call me Corinne. Don't call me anything else except that. Even though my title might be something else, just call me Corinne.
Right.
You know, and I'm good with that. So,
yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, it's very,
and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautiful because that inspires others. That's what I call an inspiring company culture. That, you know, starts with a team and spreads as you have your team, and that's what most people strive for, because frankly, it doesn't matter what business you're in, right? If you're making cardboard boxes, you can still have that same type of approach and bondedness that makes you just proud of your mission and your values and moving forward. Kudos to you, because that sounds fantastic. I want to work with you, right? I want to work for you. So because it's like, yes, that is the type of leader that I feel attracted to, that I love to work with. Yeah.
Yes, it's fun working with me. I can tell you that for sure. Fun, because I tell you, I'm not doing anything that doesn't bring me joy. So I have here, as you mentioned, inspiring company culture. I took the leap and decided to bring up your website, which is Inspiring Company Culture. Is there anything here you would like me to feature on your site?
Well, I do have a free giveaway, so it's not necessarily on here, but I'll read it off to you, because it's an evaluation. If you're wondering which of the 5 voices you are, and you mentioned something fantastic is, yeah, I think I'm all of these. Well, we are, as we mature in our abilities, we learn how to float in and out of them, because different needs require different items. And so the free giveaway is, if you go to www.giant.tv/inspiring company culture, you'll be able to log on to that platform. You'll take an evaluation. You'll take an evaluation. Giant.tv, TV like television. And /inspiring company culture, all one word. There's no A. There you go.
Inspiring company culture.
Company culture. And just hit enter.
That's it? Let's see.
No .com. I don't think you needed the .com. I don't think you needed it.
Oh, I don't need it.
But you didn't need it.
Sorry.
It'll take you to the same. It takes you to the same spot anyway. That's okay. No, that's okay. So what you do is you sign up for this platform. There's no charge for this, and it'll take you in to do an evaluation. It's relatively lengthy. It's 77 questions, 80 questions perhaps. It's the same. It'll take you to the same thing, and it will give you your 2 top voices, meaning the order of those, a first and a second. And then you can access short videos about the nature of those those voices, and some of the triggers and the attributes and that sort of thing, and just general development content. And like I said, for the individual, oops, sorry, it's free, right? So that's the reason I provided this to you. You can take that assessment. You will get emails from Giant, about different activities that they have going on. But I think it's a great way to understand more about yourself, because we started this with, you got to know yourself. You have to know yourself to lead yourself. And once you get into this platform, you would see that it runs very much like a Netflix kind of thing, where you could pick off different videos. There are things in there about productivity, about leading teams, about working virtually, because it seems to be, for those who aren't used to working virtual, has become an issue. But clearly, you can use that to develop yourself. And by going, using that / inspiring company culture, then I'm informed when you've signed up, and, happy to talk to folks who want to know about, how do I do this with a team? How do I get more specific about myself, or some insights? And I love this topic, love to discuss it. And so happy to discuss further. And so, so you see from the website.
I muted myself and I was talking to myself. Can you imagine that, Brenda?
Oh, yes, I've done it plenty of times. I can. Yes.
I'm muted and I'm talking to myself. So you have workshops and professional coaching. So I want persons to take note of that. Nice. Creating healthy cultures. Do you know, when I looked at this, what came to me? Starting at the home. Because that's your first team at home.
Yes. It definitely is. And there's, once you get into, if you sign up for the platform, you'll see one of the tools talks about that. There's this circles of influence. In the very center, the target is yourself. The next one out is family. And then it goes to team, then corporate, and then out to community, because we eventually reach to our community. Once, we can do that, it just accelerates out. And so, yes, you're right. It does. I don't skip family. It's just when I show some of these things with people, that's usually actually who's impacted the first. It's like, oh, my family's noticed I've changed a little bit. It's like, oh, well, that's not bad, was it? It's like, no, it's just, and sometimes in a family, the family dynamics, if you're afraid to say something to them, like, yeah, I wasn't going to tell you that, but yes, it's much nicer now, right?
Yeah. I think it should start there. Start with you, and then your behavior is going to eventually influence the persons within the family, and from that, then you can move out into your organization, etc., because once you're happy within yourself, everything else is going to fall into place. But work on you. It starts with you, people. It starts with you. Brenda, this has been a pleasure. We went a bit over time, but that's okay. I know I talked a lot and I didn't give you a lot more time. So that's okay. No, don't worry about it. This is my show. I can do what I want. So so that's okay. But I enjoy this, and I enjoy looking at your virtual background, which is quite pleasing to me and brings me joy. So thank you for choosing that virtual background.
I hope you like the little rubber duckies. I'm pointing to the wrong side because it's
really
flipped.
Oh, I see the
little rubber duckies. You can see them.
Yes, I didn't see them there, but thanks for pointing them out. I was actually watching the water. The water is what caught my eye.
Oh, okay. Yes.
There. Yeah.
Yes.
The rubber duckies are in the next direction. I was watching the water. So I thank you so much for sharing that, and for really, giving persons hope. And I think, if I were to have a corporation, I really wouldn't have HR and IT and all those things. I think that's a waste of time. I would just have one department that's all about a healthy culture and about love, and that's all it is. I don't know, a love department, I might call it. I could create my own department, a love department. Yeah, where it's all about
that. That's right. It's your company. You can create make whatever departments you want.
Yeah, yes. And then when you come into my building, you cannot come in with a certain energy. I know you cannot. You stay outside and leave it there. You're coming into this building, you bring positive, and if you pick up any negative energy, go back outside, drop it out there, and come in here dancing and singing, music kicking up, dancing and singing, and come in like that. That's how I would be running my corporation. So anybody who hear this and wants to work for that
Perfect.
kind of business, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free.
That's
Brenda,
wonderful. It sounds like fun.
yes, it sounds like fun. You must have fun when you're working. Why wake up in the morning
Yes,
and go to a place where you
absolutely.
don't have fun? I just don't believe in that. But thank you so much, Brenda. I appreciate you and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the wisdom and
Well,
the
thank you,
knowledge.
Corinne.
And I'm going to check out that giant website thing to do that assessment because I'm always evolving and I would want to find out more about me. You just never know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's right. And you can reach out to me as well. And my email is Brenda@Inspiring Company Culture. I'm happy to discuss anything you'd like around culture and teams and all of that.
Yeah.
Love it. I love this topic. And so thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and it was a wonderful time. I loved it. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I did showcase on your website the contact us section. So if persons miss that website, they could easily
Mhm.
go to inspiringcompanyculture.com and just scroll down the page and you will see the contact us page where you can easily reach Brenda directly. Yeah. So thank you so much, Brenda,
That's
for
right.
sharing
That's right.
and for spending time with me.
Well,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Uh-huh.